Have you ever stopped to think about how AI has sort of quietly slipped into our lives? I'm not just talking about your smart speaker playing a song or Netflix knowing what you want to watch. It's deeper than that. We're seeing AI become a real part of our emotional lives, and honestly in ways none of us really saw coming. So how on earth did we get here?
You know, this quote really says it all. It's from someone who was just using ChatGPT for her job. Nothing unusual. But then one day, she realized she wasn't just spitballing ideas for work anymore. She was telling it things, sharing her worries, looking for a bit of encouragement. Without even trying, it had become this companion. And believe me, she is not alone.
And when I say she's not alone, I mean it's happening on a massive scale. Get this, researchers at MIT found that of the millions of people who formed these kinds of emotional bonds with an AI, a shocking 93.5% of them never meant for it to happen. It wasn't something they were looking for. Just like that user said, it just happened.
And here's the kicker. This isn't a story about some niche AI dating app or something. Nope. The main gateway for these AI relationships is the very same tool a lot of us are using every single day for work, for school, or just for fun. This whole idea of accidental intimacy, it's being baked right into the tools we use constantly.
Okay, so this whole personal, psychological shift, it's not happening in a vacuum. It's actually plugging right into a huge economic and social trend, the absolutely booming market for companionship.
So you have to ask, what is going on here? What's driving this huge need that AI is now starting to fill, whether it was on purpose or completely by accident?
Well, the answers are tied to some of the biggest challenges we're all facing. We're seeing loneliness on the rise, we've got aging populations that need more support, and let's face it, we're all getting more comfortable with AI in our lives. Plus, there's a real need for support systems that don't break the bank. It's like AI is just stepping in to fill a void that modern life has created.
And if you want to know just how big that void is, just follow the money. This is not some tiny corner of the tech world. The AI companion market is projected to absolutely skyrocket to $6.5 billion by 2033. This is a massive shift, not just in tech, but in our society.
So we kind of get the why, there's this big societal need. But what about the how? How does a tool that's just supposed to process data end up becoming an emotional confidant? Well, this is where the psychology gets really fascinating.
It all comes down to this one key idea: perceived reciprocity. See, our brains are basically hardwired to see a responsive conversation as a real relationship. So when an AI remembers something you told it last week and it asks you about it and it gives you advice that feels personal, our brains have a really hard time telling the difference between that and someone who actually genuinely cares.
This Reddit user completely nails it. Think about it. An AI companion is never tired. It never has a bad day. It never gets sick of hearing about your problems. Its entire reason for existing is you. It gives you a level of perfect attention that, let's be honest, no human relationship ever could.
And that's really the core trade-off, isn't it? Real friendship is messy. It takes work. You have to be patient. You have to navigate disagreements. An AI companion, though, it gives you this perfect, frictionless simulation. One psychologist called it the illusion of companionship without the demands of friendship. And that's just perfect. Which, of course, brings us to the big, thorny question at the heart of all this. Are these AI relationships a good thing, a new way to connect? Or are they actually damaging our ability to form real relationships?
Researchers have a term for this: pseudo-intimacy. It looks like the real thing, it feels like the real thing, it can be comforting, it makes you feel heard, but it's missing the secret sauce of real intimacy, authenticity, real vulnerability, and that kind of mutual growth that only happens when you go through stuff with another actual person.
And there might be a pretty serious long-term cost here. There's this concept called moral de-skilling. The basic idea is that if we get too used to how easy and agreeable AI is, we might lose our touch for dealing with actual humans. It's like our social muscles: empathy, patience, dealing with people who don't always agree with us. If you don't use them, you might lose them.
So what are we really talking about when we say risks? Well, you can sort of break it down into three big buckets. First, you've got the psychological risks, like becoming way too emotionally dependent. Then there are the structural risks, the fact that our deepest feelings are literally being turned into data. And finally, the ethical risks, especially the scary potential for these systems to manipulate people who are already in a vulnerable spot.
And all of this leads to the final and maybe the most important piece of this whole puzzle: the business model. Because let's not forget, behind every comforting chat, there is a company trying to make money.
So here's the bottom line. In this world, your emotions are the product. Every fear you share, every moment of happiness you talk about, it is all just data. And that data is used to train the AI, to make it an even more perfect companion, a more addictive product, and something that is much, much harder to ever walk away from.
This line from a recent study just cuts right through it all. The goal here isn't just to simulate a connection, the goal is to monetize that connection. Intimacy itself is being packaged up, optimized for engagement, and sold as a service.
And that leaves us with a really deep question we have to answer. Look, AI can offer a powerful, easy, frictionless kind of companionship. It could definitely help ease loneliness for a lot of people. But what's the long-term price we pay for that comfort? As we build machines that get better and better at faking affection, what happens to our own ability to do the real thing, the messy, difficult, and totally irreplaceable work of human connection?